Damn, bro. So the situation in California is actually heating up pretty fast and pretty hard. And that is a recall effort by Republicans to recall Governor Gavin Newsom. Now, if you go to any conservative area in California, you are almost guaranteed to see stands where there's like "Don't tread on me" flags, and they have like a stand trying to gather signatures for petitions to recall Gavin Newsom. I've driven into some of those areas where I've seen that. And so you'll see that it's a very hefty effort, and it's been going on. The recall effort has been going on since he was originally elected. Okay, so keep that in mind. Um, but there's a poll that came out from Emerson, and Emerson, I'm a little shady of because their polls seem to really be kind of, they had some pretty sketch polls during the general election. So I'm definitely sketch about this poll, and I definitely need to look at more polls. But it kind of shows that there's a sort of narrow margin in terms of the recall vote. It says California voters are narrowly divided over whether to recall Gavin Newsom as he moves to bolster his standing ahead of an almost certain election later this year. A new poll conducted by Emerson College for Nexstar Media, which operates 6 television stations in the state, found 42% of voters in California would vote to keep Newsom in office, while 38% would vote to recall him. 45% approve of Newsom's handling of the coronavirus pandemic, while 44% disapprove, the poll found. It says nearly 9 in 10 Republicans, 86%, said they would vote to recall Newsom. Just under two-thirds of Democrats, 66%, said they would vote to keep him. Independents narrowly favored replacing Newsom, 39% to 35%. Registered Democrats outnumber registered Republicans in California by nearly 2-to-1 margin, with independent or minor party voters making up about a quarter of the electorate. A quarter of the electorate is pretty damn big, by the way, just so you know. So supporters of an effort to recall Newsom have collected more than 2 million signatures, more than 1.5 million they would need to qualify for the ballot. Signature gatherers in California routinely collect hundreds of thousands more autographs than they need to account for those that will inevitably be rejected. So it then explains that Gavin Newsom has just now started to prepare in the situation for a recall election. So just for a little bit of recall history and California history, Gray Davis back in the day, I think 2003, was recalled over some handling of, some, crisis or something that happened with, I think it was energy or something. But Gray Davis was actually really progressive, if I remember correctly, if I've read correctly about him. And what ended up happening was Arnold Schwarzenegger ended up getting elected. Like, the guy was a Republican, but he had no credentials to be governor of California, and it just goes to show you how dumb people can be. What experience did he have in government? Did he run at any lower levels of office? Did he have any of that? Does he have like a political science degree? Did he have a law degree? Like, the guy was a steroid freak and an actor. Why the fuck would you elect him as governor of California? Are we going to start having, like, I don't know, just just people in totally, random fields be like Surgeon General or something like that? It's just so stupid. And the recall history actually is recalls are actually, they were implemented during the progressive era because it was an attempt to be able to pull back government officials who got elected but turned out to be fakes, and so you could recall them to get them out. Now, I think, in terms of recall elections, there have only been a few, and Gray Davis obviously lost. I think there was another one in some other state as well. So, it seems in the recent history in California, at least, the recall has been used against progressives or liberals, whatever you want to call them, right? And so what it's clear this is over. First of all, Republicans opposed Gavin Newsom from day one. The recall movement was already going on from day one. But the people who are really spearheading this Newsom movement are libertarians, conservatives, and most of them are idiots who basically are pissed that there was a state mask mandate and all the things that Gavin Newsom did to try to curtail the COVID-19 pandemic, which is the main reason why I'm not supporting a recall effort here. Even if Gavin Newsom, right, which probably is, I don't think Gavin Newsom is Bernie Sanders, right? But anytime there's an effort like this led by millions of idiots who want don't want to have to wear masks, don't want businesses to be shut down. Obviously, they had to be shut down Otherwise, millions of people would be dead. There's already 500,000 people. Imagine how horrible it would have been if we left businesses open. Remember, guys, the death count is as low as it is now because of all the actions we took to prevent it. And so Gavin Newsom was doing he was getting commended for a long time, all throughout the summer. But then it appeared that once like the surge in the fall started coming, like once October hit, it started to go down really bad. There's also a lot of conservative areas in California, and so those places didn't really follow many guidelines and such. You got to remember, with these kinds of rules and guidelines, if a local ordinance or a local police force doesn't want to enforce it, nothing's going to happen. And so, that delineation of power is something that's really interesting in the United States that makes something like, something such as a pandemic harder to curtail than it would necessarily in a more centralized state. But delineation is also really good for, I would say, making sure freedoms are in place and stuff like that. So, I don't support this, right? Even though you can make a progressive argument for why Gavin Newsom isn't good enough for stuff that he's fucked up. And I'll probably agree with you. But this is a recall effort that we saw in 2003 got rid of a progressive in favor of a Republican, Arnold Schwarzenegger, who was a prick and had no experience whatsoever. And so the article right now notes that there's no Republican who can really galvanize voters like Schwarzenegger did right now. But what if one pops up? Or what if there's a lot of Democrats in California, and that means there's going to be a lot of divisions amongst the Democrats. And so what if the Democrats run a bunch of candidates in the race, and then the Republicans actually run people, they coalesce around one person? That would be disastrous. And now you have a governor who is somebody who was voted by people who don't support mask mandates. So this is really dangerous, and I'm surprised Gavin Newsom has waited this long to start his fight against the recall movement, because it's getting pretty serious, obviously. And his numbers, according to this Emerson poll, aren't even comfortable numbers, dude. I mean, you're talking about, barely being ahead of the numbers. I mean, 42 to 38? I mean, that's crazy. That's a 4% margin. That's fucking insane. So you have to, sort of start this to try to combat this, because otherwise you're going to lose this recall election, and that would be disastrous for California. And this actually makes me really worried, because people are stupid, and anytime a movement like this is headed by anti-maskers, it's obviously really dangerous. And so I'm hopeful that Gavin Newsom doesn't get recalled. And honestly, the usage of the recall in recent history in California makes me questionable as to whether or not recalls are even a good thing in the first place. And so even though it was a progressive era, vehicle that was instituted, I don't know if we should, if these are even a good thing, to be honest with you. And so, I'm going to think about it more as time goes on, but I'm definitely starting to get worried, because there's a lot of idiots in, conservative California who are now getting ready to recall Newsom, and Newsom only has 66% of Democrats in this, according to this poll, who are down to vote for him. So he's clearly got to build up his support base, because right now he's doing abysmally, and this could be really dangerous for everybody involved.